Good morning. You live from the Roadhouse. We have the Roadhouse Morning Show, sponsored by BlackboxStocks. Good morning, Bender.
Good morning. Hell's bells. How many trees did you get rid of yesterday? Do we keep
Only
count?
one, man. Only one. Had a lot of stuff that I
One
had to do.
tree?
Uno.
You're fired.
Right. Got a lot of that this morning already, as far as being fired. Apparently, I have communication issues. Um, learn about it
Apparently.
slowly but surely. I always thought that I expressed myself properly. However, learn something new every day. Anyways, how about you, buddy?
I did not. I didn't work on trees yesterday. I did sell a side by side, so that was it's been sitting in the garage for a year after we moved from Colorado. Since we've moved from Colorado, it literally has not been used. I think taken it out once in just under 2 years. So it was like it was in the main garage attached to the house next to my wife's car, and there was literally no room for anything else in that garage. I parked my truck outside, and it just like it becomes a really big cup holder. Like every time I go out in the garage, it's like, if I've got a beer or I've got a mixed drink or a water, that doesn't happen all that often, but whatever I've got, it's like working around out in the yard, and I end up just sitting it on the razor. So it's like it's
It was
time for it to go.
it was believable until you said water.
Until I said water.
Until you said water.
It's-
Like a beer.
Well, I didn't like, 10 a.m. It's a toss up.
It's a toss-up. Absolutely. All right. Well, let's get into whatever these cats are going to try to give us. Today's dip, I think, for the most part, is being brought to you by the Australian Central Bank, who raised rates a little bit more aggressively than was originally thought that they were. Um, Inflation is going to continue to be the buzzword. It's going to be an issue. Yesterday, we spoke a little bit about CPI on Friday ahead of FOMC next week. It's really going to be that is the pivot of all pivots. Them having the data that they need in order to not necessarily state what they're going to do for this meeting and the next, but really moving into September. Some of this data needs to stack to give an idea of whether or not inflation is indeed waning or if it is still something that is absolutely beating everybody's ass. The question for us and how to play it is how they are planning to risk off. Thus far, it looks like they are wanting to sell in advance of this. Based on flow, based on some of the charts, based on the price action, based on the overall lack of enthusiasm for anything to the upside from what we've seen, let's say Friday into yesterday and then even into today. It seems like risk off is the mode, but that can easily flip to where now you have short boys needing to cover in order to mitigate their downside exposure or upside exposure. The SEC continues to be busy. They're looking to revamp the process of order flow. One of the little takeaways from some of the articles that are floating out there as far as wanting to ensure that the smaller investor gets the best possible price for their transaction. Market makers and the pink bolo boys are saying that, hey, that's not going to happen. You're going to put us in a position to where we're going to have to start charging more and be more selective about what we're doing. Rest assured, no matter what, pink bolo boys will prevail and find a way to get theirs before we get ours. That is just something the way it always has been, the way it always will be, even before the advent of the pink polo. Target offered a note that they are going to take a hit on their margins because they did a really shitty job of coming up with an understanding of what the consumer is actually going to want. They have an absolute, they are overrun in inventory on things like hoodies. Anything that you would want, need, and use during the pandemic and lockdown, they have too much of them. What they do not have enough of are things that are opening, like beauty supplies, school supplies, things like that that people are using in order to roam about the cabin. They do not have those. So you could probably get some pretty good deals on hoodies in case you were still seeking them. Apple unveiled a couple of new pieces, including buy now, pay later, that went ahead and might have put the death blow into a firm. We will see. But Apple, with the majority of its conferences, usually sells afterwards, and that flow on Apple yesterday coming in today is not exactly pretty. So that's something that we need to keep an eye on as far as what they're doing with the Apple. Pretty cool products, nothing just mind-numbing, but Apple continues to push the envelope as far as improving upon their products, and that's really all you can ask for. Yellen is also scheduled to testify today and tomorrow in front of Congress. Expect more passing of the buck. Last week she came out and said that she wasn't expecting inflation to be this out of control. She's going to get up in front of Congress. They're going to ask her a bunch of questions. She's going to get defensive. It's going to be really dopey as every senator or congressman tries to take a hit at her. And it's going to be what it is. The bottom line is that they got it wrong. And we're all paying the price for it now. As far as things that I'm watching, got to continue to watch the dollar. Dollar continues to try to move to the upside. 10-year made a very strong move to the upside also. In crude, seems to have flattened out a little bit below this 120 mark. Would be amazing to get that sucker under 117. But we have to keep our eyes open to it, and we all know that it is very headline driven. Going back to some of the things again that I'm watching, Apple flow was not friendly. Want to see how they're treating that. Do not want to see any more strikes down into the 130s. Otherwise, it's very problematic for the market in general. Also, they're going to be watching UVXY. As we all know, we have been trading and bouncing around this area between 1380 and 1330. It has been a ping pong all through there. So the way it's looking now, it's entirely possible we reach up and take that 1380. At that point, we have to look at 1430 as far as it kind of petering out and coming back down. A break over 1430 is going to be absolutely disastrous. And we're going to feel it pretty good on the bull side if we do indeed breach that 1430. So those are the lines that I'm looking at. The reality is that we're sitting here dealing with a game of Russian roulette. We're in the chair and the Fed is sitting there spinning the wheel over and over again, playing clicks to our heads. That's our world. That's what we're dealing with. So with that being said, Bender, what you got?
Well, obviously we gave up that that 4100. That has been, got everything from 4150, that 4134, 4120, 4110. It's obviously been just a battle in here. We did give up 4100. So the next sort of levels that I look at as to where are the next important support levels. 4079 is the right here where we're at. We're at 4080. 4079 is the 10 MA on the daily. 4080 right here was a previous level of support. So we got to see if this kind of holds in here. If not, 4067 was previously important, and then if we give that up, then we start looking at 4050 down to 4,000. Nobody wants to see that. And then, obviously, 3980. Those are potential areas to look for support. If we do get a bounce, you're looking for resistance. Obviously, 4100 being the whole number. And then that 4134 has been key. And the battle that the Bulls lost up at 4150.
I'm hoping that you guys are pulling up, if nothing else, a chart to get an idea of what Bender is talking about in through, because it's fairly obvious that these areas that it continues to day after day are absolute massive interest. And having an understanding of that intraday is very, very critical. I know I've been using it more and more. For me, and kind of looking at it, that 407 area will probably be an area that I might look to take a scalp, see if we can grab that. If not, This thing is just set up both from a flow standpoint and a chart standpoint to do absolutely nothing but frustrate the shit out of everybody until we get into the Fed next week.
Yeah.
It's like that's how it's set up to piss everybody off. I don't see us breaking out, and I don't necessarily see us breaking down in advance of this meeting. So
Yeah, and obviously I'm giving levels that are like we talked about yesterday. There's been just so many. It's been just garbage, right? You can trade it, you can scalp it. You gotta be patient and be very. You gotta be very precise on your entries, not chasing breakdowns or breakouts. But playing, you know, we start a small uptrend, wait for the pullback on one of those levels and play the bounce. If we're pushing down, you kind of have to wait for the bounce and then scalp short at that resistance level, because the breakdowns and breakouts, it's been more fake outs. So you just have to be, you got to be really patient. You said that yesterday you had mentioned that this could be one of those weeks where we don't get that big move, and I hope that they don't just bore us to death all week. But if you're getting chopped up and chopped to death, and you see these, we get range, and we do get some, you can get 30, 40 points. You just have to be very careful, and if you're struggling and you're getting chopped up, and Hells is telling us the flow says we may not get that move, and you see us just stuck in here like we have been, 4,100, 4,150, down to 4,050, and it's just not working for you. It's like, all right, maybe it's just not there, and it's okay to watch.
It's okay to watch. And that's the thing. It's like we have to understand the environment that we're in. And right now we're literally caught in no man's land, both from a chart standpoint, a flow standpoint, and a narrative standpoint. It's like right now we're literally just waiting for the next shoe to drop in either direction. So if we know that and are aware of that, then we have to kind of mold our plan to that. There's no point in fighting it. There's absolutely no point. So anyways, Stockington.
Hello.
I don't know if you saw this or not, but Microsoft had a very large dark pool.
It did this morning as well as last night. So yeah, that's going to be a thing. So I was thinking, for my little piece here in the morning, I go through my levels specific to the watch list, but I think it could be a good addition to just kind of talk about dark pool across the market in general. I like using it on my list. I like using it during the day, but today's like a good example of we're way down off that level. So Microsoft specifically, 268.75 was last night's dark pool. They hit it with 559 million specifically at that line, and then hit it again with another 702 million this morning. So we're looking at 1.2 billion on Microsoft at 268.75. That 270.02 was a 1.1 billion level, and then 273.24. So Microsoft has a lot of heavy dark pool lines above where it's currently operating. So that's just one that kind of jumped out to me, and 100% agree with everything Bender said. With these kind of gap down days, it's like, I was going to take Microsoft short at 268.50, and now we're $3 below that. So just going to give it some time. If we move up and reject in that dark pool area, I think it could be a good short, or just kind of be patient, like Bender said, and see what kind of retests or breakouts we get. So specifically for the list, Moderna did not really participate in this push down. It was an inside bar in the daily, which is what why it jumped out to me as a good watch list play. So the put trigger would be 138.85, and then I've got a line below that 138.4. So I'll be watching that one. I'd be looking to take Moderna long if we go up, breaks 141.05, and then again wait for that retest. Roku was also an inside bar in the daily, so hoping it actually didn't gap down too far below my put trigger at 88.5. So if we get a little move to the upside, I'd be watching to see what happens there. And then TSM was the other big dark pool I saw last night. That came in at 93.11. There was 300 million on that line, which for TSM that'd be significant. But it did have a pretty good gap down. So if it moves up, I've got a line here at 92.45, and then above as well, 92.9. So if we get maybe some green candles, we can see if there's a short opportunity in there. And then, just there was a lot of dark pool that came in this morning. I won't go through every single one, but some of the ones that stood out that came through last night, there was 167 million on Pfizer at 53.26. PayPal got some 276 million at 86.81. Apple, small. One thing to keep in mind as I'm going through these is like the amount is all relative to the ticker, right? So it's like 350 million on Apple is not, that's going to be like maybe around 1% daily volume or something, maybe even less. But then we go like JP Morgan, they hit 423 million on that one at 129.73, and that was like almost 30% daily volume for JPM. So always something to kind of keep in the back of your mind. It's like a couple hundred million on Apple is like a drop in the bucket versus JPM. That could be significant. And the other thing I've kind of noticed while we're watching these dark pools is like you can't really just go in guns blazing. Again, like exactly what Bender said. It's like you're waiting for a retest. You're waiting for a reaction to that line, especially the ones that come in during the trading hours. Is like you can't just say, "Oh, it came in below and we're operating above, so I'm going to buy a call here." You got to kind of wait for a reaction to that particular line. So, we're always calling those out during the day. Something to be on the lookout for. But that's all I've got for now for today.
Very good. Thank you very much. Do you have anything else, bud?
Nothing for me.
Nothing for me either. So let's get in and see what they give us. Go be thy way. That's all I can really say. Flo will tell us which way we're going. The one thing that I do want to say is we've been chomping around and it's been really, really messy. One thing that has been consistent in all this is Flo saying the exact same thing. Flo matters. Flo has given us an idea of what the moves are going to be and how to react intraday. So if we respect the flow, ultimately we will respect our accounts. So with that being said, we have about 20 minutes until open. Y'all get comfortable, get ready, and we will be back here shortly. Y'all enjoy.